Thank you so much for being here in Puerto Rico Icon. My name is Manolo López. I'm a chef, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a producer, and today I have the honor of sharing the stage with two heavyweights in what is rum for Puerto Rico. I want to give y'all a brief understanding of who these amazing humans are. Silvia Santiago, she is the Senior Vice President of Manufacturing at Destillería Seralles. She has had her hand in all the processes of making this rum an exceptional rum and so iconic to Puerto Rico. What's interesting about her is that she started as a microbiologist and she worked all her way up of understanding all these measures of fermentation and growing the brand for the past couple decades to what it is today. Another note is that she is a product of the universities here in Puerto Rico, which is always amazing to have. And we have Jose Pepe Alvarez, self-made businessman. Jose is also part of the universities of Puerto Rico, graduating from Sagrado Corazon, majored in business administration and horticulture. He founded the Puerto Rico Surfing Federation, was also the president for the Surfing Federation International, the first and only Puerto Rican to do it. And he also owns San Juan Distillers, and they're known for pioneering craft production of rum here in Puerto Rico since 2011. Please, round of applause for our speakers. Ahí tienen los micrófonos, mira a ver. All right, I've had the pleasure of interviewing Silvia before. I did a short documentary called Mi Puerto Rico El Rum, where we did a beautiful exploration of how you cut sugarcane in Aguada. We took it to Mercedita to learn how rum is distilled through the eyes of Silvia Santiago, because I read about her, and she has a unique title being a rum master blender. But also, she is one of the first female rum master blenders in the Caribbean and in Latin America, and she's a trailblazer for us. So I want to start the conversation with history and development of the industry, right? So considering the historical background of Puerto Rico and the relationship that we have with rum, how has the rum industry on the island evolved in terms of development of new distilleries and adaptation for legislative changes such as the rum cover overtax? And can you share a little bit of the statistics and evolution of that?
Yes, of course. Hi. Hello, everybody. And it's really a pleasure to talk about rum. That's my favorite subject. And also share with Jose the information that we are going to give you here. You were very generous, not saying how many years I've been in the industry.
Oh, we kept that out, I want to make sure you're comfortable.
But no, for me, it's really, I'm proud of that. I've been working in the rum industry for 50 years already. So yes, I started with the yeast and the fermentation, and that's my origin, my roots. And I gave a lot of time, and I got to see a couple of the last zafras in Puerto Rico. So yes, I saw a little bit of that also. And I've seen a lot of changes, as you say. In Puerto Rico, let me give you a fact that not too many people know, but in the history, going back to 1950 something, 52, 53, because of the wars and the difficulties that happened during the wars, that there was a change, not enough distilled spirits in the mainland and in Puerto Rico. But we kept producing some in Puerto Rico, and they were sending them to the mainland too fast and with not enough quality. So the product suffered in terms of that situation. But the government and the industry got together and decided that they were going to work toward elevating the category of rum not only in Puerto Rico, but in the world. And the first studies, the best studies on rum making were made here in Puerto Rico, were done here in Puerto Rico in the Planta Piloto de Ron. Studies that were shared with the rest of the world. And since then, the industry has kept improving, kept working in the category of rum. So yes, I've seen that slowly but surely, we have the rum is getting more favor from the clients from the different markets. But it's because of that effort. It has been long, and it has been continuous. Puerto Rico, well, I am biased, makes the best rum in the world. And definitely, it's proven when you taste it. And this is in terms of the company that I work at. We keep every opportunity that we have, we work toward improving that, to telling the customer what our rum is really representing not only our company, but Puerto Rico in the rest of the world. There is a lot of challenges. As you said, legislators are always creative. And because the spirits is not the first necessity, they are always looking to impose taxes on that. And it's kind of a continuous challenge, because you have to tell them and explain the government people what our rum really translates into our economy.
And I think that's important too, because it translates into our economy, but also into our culture, right? Pepe, you're an entrepreneur. You started a landscaping business. Your love for surfing ended up helping and promoting surfing to what is Puerto Rico, and then you end up starting San Juan Distillers, right? And San Juan Distillers has been around for, I believe, 13 years. So with the same question that I asked Silvia, how does, I don't want to say fairly new brand because you've been in the market for a decade, but how does something like the cover overtax mean to your business, and how do you navigate through it?
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I think this is off. Can you hear me? Okay. It's a pleasure to be sharing with Silvia. It's a real honor. Thank you for the invitation, everyone. When Puerto Rico hit the economic slump, that perfect storm of 2008, my landscaping business, which I had been blessed and done well for 35 years, completely went flat. So I had to reinvent myself. And I looked at my farm and I said, what can I do that has to do with agriculture, which I've always loved. I always loved to be in el campo. And even if it was growing ornamental plants and doing landscaping for commercial and industrial projects. So I decided, following the model of Martinique, we flew to Martinique, my wife and I, and Martinique, the French islands, created the concept of agricole rum, which is, I think it's, Silvia, what would you say? It could be maybe 5% of the rum produced in the world is made from sugarcane juice, or maybe
That's
less.
right. It's around 5%. It's still
about 5%, so it's
small
minimal.
quantity. Yes.
That's the French baptized it agricole rum because when the sugarcane industry collapsed in the Caribbean because the other larger countries could lower the prices and we couldn't compete, and the sugarcane industry was phased out of Puerto Rico. The French had small farms in their islands, so they said, you know what, let's make rum from the juice. And they invented the concept of the agricole rum, and they baptized and named the rum made from molasses, which is a byproduct of the sugarcane process, industrial rum, which was kind of unjust from their part and discriminatory maybe a little bit. But anyway, I felt that there was an opportunity in Puerto Rico to, through our experience in agriculture, to create a farm where we planted sugarcane. We basically revived the industry of sugarcane in Puerto Rico. We planted 100 acres out of 25 pieces of sugarcane that we were able to collect in La Central Coloso in Aguada, which was one of the last remaining plantations that was still surviving, and decided to launch ourselves and concentrate in the niche of producing a rum agrícola. The French told us, they sent a note, you can't call it agricole rum because that's a French word, and we own that. And I said, but how can you own a generic word? But anyway, I said, well, we'll call it rum agrícola. We're in Puerto Rico after all. And they opposed that as well. So we said, you know what? The French don't want to buy it, don't buy it. But we call it that, and we've had inquiries from France and from all over Europe regarding agricole rum, which is very special because we grow our own sugarcane, we hand cut it or machine cut it, we mill it in our own sugarcane mill that mills 3 tons of sugarcane per hour, and ferment it for a few days, and then we distill in French cognac pot stills, which happened by pure chance. I was able to buy a plant that went under in Trinidad. It was an association of the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy group, the luxury group, had a project with Trinidad Distillers in Trinidad, and the French didn't get along with the Trinidadians, so they decided to shut down the project. And I was in the right place at the right time, so I was able to buy the whole plant, and we transported the whole plant to Vega Alta, to our distillery, the building we built specially for the distillery. So we have 3 cognac pot stills made in cognac and champagne. And so it's quite a unique project, and I think there's very few of them in the world that actually ferment and distill sugarcane juice and distill in cognac French pot still. So it has an amazing aromas, and it's a specific niche. So we've been doing that for a few years now, and it's a struggle. It's difficult. The sugarcane is a struggle. We're in the hurricane path. We get hit by hurricanes all the time. If you get more than 40 miles per hour winds, sugarcane will fall on the floor. So you have to go in and pick it up and hand cut it, and that's most of the time happens. So it's a struggle. Nature is a factor that has to be considered greatly. But we're very, very proud of what we're doing, and we think we have a unique product. We're seeking to distribute in the U.S. We want to be able to sell to the major markets of the U.S. as a niche product, and I think it has great potential. Regarding the tax rebates, we're obviously trying to affiliate ourselves to the tax rebate program, but until we generate sales in the States, we won't be able to qualify to receive any of those funds. But there is a law that was enacted in 2012. It was called la Ley Contributiva del Nuevo Milenio, the New Millennium tax law for Puerto Rico in 2012 that was enacted that created a sector for artisanal distilleries for the first time ever. And there were only 2. There was Destillería Coquí and ourselves that were the only ones that were around at that moment. Now there's like 8 or 10 of them throughout the island, so growth keeps going. And that what classified you as an artisanal or a craft distillery, there's a limit of 100,000 gallons in production. After you reach that, which is more or less 40,000 cases, more or less, then you belong to the big leagues, and you have to play ball with the big boys. But there was something that we're lobbying very hard. The local distilleries are lobbying very hard because we were given a 50% as an incentive for the industry, the craft distillery, to develop itself in Puerto Rico and come out with new ideas, new products, new things, different things like what we've done. There's many good ideas out there. There was an imposition that if we made anything more than 39% alcohol, we wouldn't qualify for the 50% discount of the regular tax that is paid in Puerto Rico to the government, to Hacienda. And it's something that needs to be amended. The group of craft distilleries in Puerto Rico is working with legislature, and we're seeking help to have this amended, because it doesn't make sense if the government is trying to promote craft distilleries because it's interesting and it brings new energy to rums of Puerto Rico and brings new products and new ideas, and it creates a stir. And that has to be reevaluated. How are you going to penalize and give the 50% discount of the tax if you don't reach to make what is called, because of its definition, rum, which has to have 40% or more of alcohol. So that needs to be reevaluated. I think that will be a big factor and an important factor for the craft distilleries in Puerto Rico to survive.
It's so interesting how the French would call you out on it, because the French, like if you're going to do Bordeaux wine, it has to come from Bordeaux region, specific cheeses and stuff. But then I want to segue into like the craft distilleries that you just mentioned, because right now there's like this influx of so many rums coming into the market, different flavors, and not just in Puerto Rico, because you see places like Dominican Republic, Colombia, Mexico, so other places that are creating more rum-based spirits. So that's where I want to go into like consumption and like the market diversification that we have. So given this evolution that we're having, and I guess like more of the consumers are developing their palate, how has the Puerto Rican rum industry adapted to meet and expand these experiences and preferences?
That's an excellent question, and let me tell you something. We listen to the customer all the time. That's the only way in which you can keep growing and giving them what they want. And nowadays, well, when I began working in this business, there was only like the gold rum and the white rum. That's it. Nowadays, you find, wow, almost everything, no? You have to create, you have to give variety to the customers, but you have to keep quality. That's something that you cannot negotiate. It's, the quality must be there all the time. But there are new creations. For example, we began working with the Cristal. The Cristal was born back in 1980 something. Before that was white rum, but then was Cristal, and Cristal is at its name. Completely clear product, but with the rum character. And nowadays we have not only Cristal, we have the flavors: limon, cocoa, parcha. Because the younger generation really want to try new things. And the traditional rum was good, but want something else. So, okay, let's work with that. And in our case, we believe in everything natural. So the flavors that we use in our rums has to be natural, unless Jose was talking about the 39%. Our industry it's rigid in terms of the legislation that covers us. And for example, if you add something that is not natural, you have to write that on the label. You have to declare on the label that you are adding something artificial. So if you go and, in our case, look for our Don Q flavors, you will see that there is nothing artificial. Because for us, it's very important to give the younger generation, they want to know what you put in there, and they want to be sure that it's something that is good for the environment and everything else. So that's what we are doing. And the industry is moving toward that. Double H, that was the next one. The market nowadays, both in Puerto Rico, but mostly in the mainland and in Europe, is moving toward more dark products. The aged, the maturates, the products that have been aged longer. Los añejos. Those are really the ones that the market are looking at. So that's something that we also work with. And the double H, what we call the double H, is the rums that is aged in the regular way, but then you end up putting down that rum in another type of bottle, like the cognac, like the vermouth,
Sherry cask.
the sherry cask, the last one, the port and the Zinfandel. But we are roneros, we are rum makers. So we want to savor the rum, but at the end there is that small note of that other blend, of that other wood that we use in the aging. And those are the kind of things that we work with every day. And for the younger generation, we have to work then with the RTDs, because that's the other one that is very popular. And we are using the rums in RTDs also. So we are trying to give a little bit for everything.
Those are amazing strategies. Pepe, what strategies have you used to innovate or just remain like not relevant, but like in the community here in Puerto Rico, as far as like, you know, the new generations coming in to try and rum?
Absolutely. As Silvia was saying, the global trend right now, in the 50s and the 60s, it was very popular to Bacardi started back in Cuba and Santiago very early on. They created the Bacardi light rum, and the idea was that to create a light product versus what would be the traditional profile of our rums in the past, which would have had a strong cherry flavor, similar to what Barrilito still is. Barrilito still continues to produce their original recipe and the original blend, which was based in our Spanish tradition. In Puerto Rico, we were making rum, and they needed some cask. Where can we age this rum? How can we make it better? And the Spanish guy said, we have 5,000 empty barrels of Jerez there, so we're bringing barrels of Jerez all year long. The same happened with the British colonies, islands, which also, the English love cherry, so they also had that more or less same profile. The French aged in cognac barrels, so their rum had a different style, had a different flavor of the limousine wood of French cognac barrels. The tendency, the global tendency as the evolution of rum from that origin of Bacardi and then Seralles, creating the ultimate light rum that would be mixable with everything, with any kind of juice, was a sensational hit and still is a sensational hit and is very, very popular. But the trend, the global trend is going, as Silvia mentioned, is going towards more sophisticated rums, more aged rums that have been double barreled. You've seen the model of the Macallans, that they're being barreled in 3 different barrels. It's become something, they keep inventing and doing different things. So the trend is that people are starting to appreciate the premium side of rum and the exquisite taste that rum produces. I prefer any day of the week to drink a nice aged rum than to drink a whiskey in the rocks. I mean, it's my personal preference, of course, I'm a rummer. But it is tropical, it is Caribbean, it is us, and you can feel the warmth in that drink. You can feel that warmth in that drink. Against cognac, cognac will burn your throat. When you take a sip, it's very strong. And rum is very noble, and when it's nicely aged and it's nicely made, it really is great. And that is a global trend right now, and you've seen the lineup of all the large companies, large and small, are concentrating themselves mostly in production of aged rums to make fancy cocktails with them, old fashions, Manhattans, the Daiquiris have come back again. So I think that's the direction of rums in Puerto Rico and the world. And that is the direction that we're taking. We have a small program. We have 900 barrels aging right now. We're expecting different types of barrels that we want to do a second barreling, to do a small batch, because we are a craft distillery after all, but we want to make sure that even if we have small quantities, that we have the highest quality possible in our rums.
That's amazing. And if both of you have any innovative products and you want anyone to test, please invite me. Okay?
For sure.
For sure.
All right, moving on. We are in Puerto Rico. We're in the Caribbean. We've been hit by 2 devastating hurricanes, Maria in 2017, and then we had Fiona a couple years later. So I want to talk about challenges and barriers in production. So facing all of these challenges, cost of labor, production, access to capital, the impacts of natural disaster, or even infrastructure. What have been the main barriers to the growth of the rum industry in Puerto Rico? And if you had a magic wand, what key aspects would you change to improve that industry?
Let me tell you that if I could change something, really, it wouldn't be none of those that you mentioned. If I could change something, I would change the marketing and the way in which the customers see the rum. And Jose spoke about the effort and that the customers are looking for rum and are appreciating more rum. Not enough. We still have to work super hard to keep elevating the rum category in the world and in Puerto Rico. You know, rum, as you heard, we have the tradition, we have the history behind it, the technology. When we speak about cognac or about whiskey, our technology is like that or even more difficult and more complicated, and we use equipments that are nowadays state of the art, and the craft being smaller companies, but there is craft in each and every one of us in production. When I work in a formula and I go to the warehouse and I take samples from the bottles and taste those samples, that's craft. That's working with those formulas, trying to find the best one for the product for the customer. That is craft, really. It's a craft doing that.
Absolutely.
So all of that, our product, our rum is delicious. You explained it very well. I always explain how to taste, and you had the opportunity. You just smell it, you look at it, it's beautiful golden color, amber colors. The aromas are delicious. It's not only coming the molasses, but also all those esters and aldehydes. It's beautiful in your nose. And then you put that in your mouth, and the taste is wonderful, and you allow it to just wet all your mouth, and you swallow it, and it's delicious. It's really an elegant product. But not even in Puerto Rico is appreciated like that. When I meet group and I try to tell this to every person that I meet, they say, no, I don't drink rum. And they say the word rum like something that is not so good. No, we must be proud of our rum because there is so much in it and represent us in the rest of the world. So if I could change something, I would change that perception, and we have to work in the marketing in Puerto Rico and the rest of the world because it represents us in the rest of the world also.
Yep.
Pepe, if you had the magic wand, what would you do?
I would amend in the legislature the law that requires that craft distilleries are penalized if they make rum more than 39%. And you're trying to promote the rum industry in Puerto Rico. How are you going to penalize the guy that's trying to make it if he makes a rum? And then you give him a break if it goes under 39%, which doesn't make any sense at all. That is one of my lifetime goals towards the future, that there's justice in that, because we're small companies. We're a family-owned company, and it's difficult out there. And Puerto Rico receives almost $400 million in tax rebates from the U.S., and that is shared with the larger companies of rum in the island, and I think that is absolutely just. But I think the small initiatives have to be given a break. And maybe out of these 10 small distilleries, maybe one or two of them will become the one Seralles of the future, or Bacardi of the future, who knows, maybe in 100 years. I got scared the other day when I went to a supermarket. I was placing my product because I opened the accounts, and I went to each supermarket and I shake the hand of each grocer and explained what the products were. And when I saw that Bacardi had started in 1868 and Seralles had started in 1890 something, or 18...
65.
I'm sorry? See, imagine that. I said, oh my goodness, my grandchildren will, will be seeing the benefits of this. These guys have 200 years ahead of us. But I mean, we're super proud of what we're doing, and I think we're going the right way. My son, Jose Roberto Alvarez Lefranc, he's a civil engineer, and he came straight from his university to run the distillery, and he's become the master distiller. He does the blending, and he has all the tools in our distillery, which is a 15,000 square foot distillery. And he has all the tools looking towards the future of becoming, he has all the tools to become one of the best rum producers in the world. And that is his goal, and that is what he wants to do. Regarding the hurricanes, we got smashed by Hurricane Maria. We worked from 2012 planting sugarcane. We planted 100 acres and from 25 stalks of sugarcane, as I said before. And we were to inaugurate the project in December of 17. And in September, we all know Maria passed over Vega Alta and Vega Baja, and that was all demolished. And I was going crazy because the farm was in the ground, all the sugarcane was in the floor, the river Sibuco had taken all the sugarcane with it. I probably have sugarcane planted all the way to Rincon and all the shoreline. And so I didn't know what to do. And as I went into my lab at once, I've always been a fighter, and I've always been resilient. And every time I confront a challenge, I just get more energy to get up and go. But the first 3 days of the hurricane were really, really depressing. So I walked into the lab and I saw these Tres Clavos, which is one of the brands that we make, which is a rum infusion inspired by Puerto Rican tradition of roncaña. I saw these Tres Clavos that were 3 spikes we found in our sugarcane farm of the train that circled Puerto Rico, transporting sugarcane to the sugarcane mills. It was a formidable train that circled Puerto Rico completely and visited the 25 sugarcane mills that we had in the island. That disappeared completely. People took away, when the industry collapsed, people took the rails, they took the wood, they took everything but the nails they threw away. So when we were planting our sugarcane in that field that still has the dirt of the trainway, my agro partners in the company, they said, Pepe, I found this nail. I said, I'll take that. So when I got into the lab and I saw the Tres Clavos, I had this idea. Well, while we recoup our sugarcane and we regrow our sugarcane and are able to produce ron pepón, which is the first ron agrícola ever made in Puerto Rico, let's create Tres Clavos. And I visualized the brand Tres Clavos, it wasn't taken anywhere, so now it's registered trademark. And I decided to do a premium roncaña inspired by Puerto Rican tradition. We basically buy fruits from local farmers. We buy 1,000 pounds of pineapples from Barceloneta, quenepas and mangoes from Santa Isabel. We're making the first Billy de Quenepa, ron de Billy de Quenepa, which is a traditional Billy rum from Vieques. And I've been told, Silvia, that Billy was originally from Ponce, that it was taken, adopted by Vieques. Have you heard that before?
No,
well,
but it tastes good.
It really does. So we produce these, we have 6 flavors of fruits that are sourced locally from local farmers. And we don't buy imported frozen fruits from anywhere, because fruits like our avocados, our mangoes, everything, I don't know what Puerto Rico has, but they taste better than the imported stuff. So we have this line, it was an invention of my reinvention as a businessman. And right now, our flavored or our fruit-infused rums, which is a roncaña, following Puerto Rican tradition, probably comprises 75% of our sales. So life brings these hits, but then it rewards back if you work hard and go for it.
And 2 notes that I take from that is, 1, like, we can always create something from an aftermath, and then 2, I just want someone to talk about me like Silvia Santiago talks about rum. You guys heard the way that she described it?
Oh my God, no, that's...
it's beautiful. All right,
yeah.
We got 2 more questions to wrap up. Silvia, I want to talk about growth and impact. And so to conclude, could you emphasize what the rum industry has done for Puerto Rico? You've been around it for a lot of years. You've seen it evolve. So how has it elevated the category, and what are the future possibilities and the impact that it continue to happen to Puerto Rico?
Yeah. Besides letting know Puerto Rico by its best rum. You know that we have talked about the tax and the cover over. The cover, I don't know if everybody here knows what the cover over is, but it's that it's a law coming from 1917, I believe so, from the long, many years ago, that once the citizenship, American citizenship was given to the Puerto Rican people, the government of the U.S. Allowed to all the taxes from most of the products would come back to the island to help the island's economy. So we still receive back, I mean, when we say we, I am talking about the government of Puerto Rico, receive back almost all the tax that we have to pay when we send the product to the mainland. So that cover over really is helping Puerto Rico. There is some, especially since 2010, the government shares part of it to the industry to help us in the marketing of the brands. But that money is used for the economy in the island, for helping. There is the organization that helps all the natural resources, natural places, parks, and the schools receive some of the money. There is a lot of work in Puerto Rico that is done by the government using that money. So it's when you drink rum, you are helping the economy of the island. Definitely, yes, you're working with that.
Another reason to drink rum.
So that's the way in which we really, we are talking about probably $500, $600 million that is coming back to the island, thanks to the rum cover over.
So when you see them walking in through El Museo, just thank them, okay, for making exceptional rum. Pepe, on the same note about future possibilities, I want to talk about quickly your closing remarks on agricultural development. Can it be transformed, because you work with your own farms, can it be transformed into an agro-industrial operation to create some sort of value-added product?
Absolutely. I'm a full advocate that Puerto Rico has total potential. Puerto Rico had 350,000 acres of sugarcane planted throughout the island. I think that from that, we probably still have maybe 300,000 acres that are sitting idle there that's not being used for anything. And the traditional agriculture has to evolve into businesses similar to my model, where I plant my sugarcane, I extract the juice, I ferment, I distilled, and I create added value to the final product. If I were to sell my sugarcane by the tonnage, which was a traditional way, I would get $100 a ton, and from a ton of sugarcane, you can get $1,000 out of rum in a finished ton of sugarcane turned into rum. The same can be done with so many things that our people can create plantations. I think this should be incentivized by the government, not only to plant plátanos or bananas or plantains, but turn them into something special. Look for a niche market. Look for something that is needed in our main market of exportation, which is natural for us is the U.S., and it's greatest country in the world, and we have an open market. We have open doors to ship over there. We have the land, and through technology and through modern agriculture, we can turn those agricultural products into a value-added product that would generate jobs and richness to Puerto Rico.
Amazing. And I'd like to invite all of you after this talk, not today particularly, but to go and visit the distilleries of Seralles and Rum Capital, because they're truly magnificent. You get to see the whole product. You get to speak to everyone who has some sort of part in it, and you get to try amazing rum. Where can we find your product, or where can we find more information on both of your brands?
Well, you can look for www.donq.com, and there you will find all the information regarding the product, the history, everything else. Our products are also in most of the supermarkets. There are very special ones. Those double H are in La Cava de Serralles here in Guaynabo. and you can go there and taste it and purchase some of those beautiful products.
Yep, you can locate us at sanjuanartisandistillers.com. Everything is there. And we're also the same as Seralles. We're in most supermarkets and liquor stores throughout the island. We're at the duty-free stores in the airport, which is easy to take a bottle and take it with you. So that's it.
So it's been an honor to share the stage with y'all. Obviously, getting to like do all these questions and learn more about the processes. I love it. Please go out and buy their product. Go talk to them and support Puerto Rico in this way.
One
more thing?
Yes, please. I forgot to mention. Another derivative of the industry that has been creative is the interest of visitors to Puerto Rico and everywhere in the world. Like, they want to visit businesses where they can see how they come to Puerto Rico. We don't have wine, so we won't go to a winery, but we make rum, so let's go see how they make rum. And this has such great potential for the tourism industry in Puerto Rico. And there is a big effort going on right now visiting distilleries. Right now, 10% of our sales comes from the visiting our distillery. We are recognized by the Puerto Rico Tourism Company as an agro-tourism destination. And people, it's really amazing because people come in and basically what we do is we show them what we do every day. And they're impressed and they love it. And then they try our 8 rums and they leave extremely happy. So and it's really attractive, and that is modern tourism as well. And people like to interact and learn the small details of how you do everything. So I think that should be looked at as well closely.
Well, with that being said, thank you so much for being here at Puerto Rico Icon. Big round of applause for these two trailblazers
Gracias.
within Puerto Rico and rum.